I call to order the April 2012 legislative meeting of the Borough Council. I ask that you all join in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm going to go slightly out of order tonight. Perhaps there are quite a few people here assembled tonight. I suspect some of you are here because you expect that there is going to be a vote on the 3rd Street project tonight. There will not be. That decision, I anticipate, will come at the May legislative meeting, that is May 17, 2012. So if you are here because you wish to hear the outcome of that vote, you'll have to come back and join us next month. So having said that, let's move on to approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the March 1, 2012 workshop meeting minutes? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any comment on the workshop meeting minutes? Not hearing any. All those in favor of approving the March 1, 2012 workshop meeting minutes, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Similarly, as to the March 15, 2012 council meeting minutes, do I hear a motion? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no call for discussion. All those in favor of approving the March 15, 2012 council meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. All right, before we begin public comment and privilege of floor, I will announce that council met in executive session this past Monday, April 16, 2012, to discuss a litigation matter. All right, all those who wish to come forward now and speak to council, it is your privilege to do so. So please, I invite you to the microphone.
Hi, Stephanie Gaborio, Parks Edge Lane. I'm the chair of Friends of Glen Providence Park, and I have 2 announcements. One, we're very excited for some plantings we're doing. Hopefully this Sunday for Earth Day, we have some trees and shrubs and perennials picked out to help with erosion near the pond, and we're very excited. The forecast is not looking great. We may have to postpone it until next weekend. We're going to make a decision by tomorrow night. We're hoping the forecast improves, but we will post that on Facebook, Friends of Glen Providence Park, and also on our website, glenprovidencepark.org, if we do postpone that to the following weekend. And actually 2 weekends away, on Saturday, May 5th, we are coordinating the CRC. It's the 15th annual CRC Watersheds Cleanup, and we're coordinating the Glen Providence Park location, logically enough. And there's information on that on crcwatersheds.org and also on our Facebook page. And so we're excited about that too. So a lot of volunteer opportunities coming up, and then we'll return to nature walks. And I do have one question for council, which is, I know that you just announced that the vote will be next month on the 3rd Street project. And I just was wondering if each of you had had the opportunity to actually visit the location of where the project will be, and with, I've visited it, of course, as you can imagine, many times with the Schnabel engineering drawings and trying to understand exactly where the new dam would be and where in the park it would impact. And I'm wondering if each of you has actually visited the location doing the same thing at some point to understand where the new dam will go and why it is that we're so concerned about its impact on the park.
Stephanie, I'll respond. I've done so. I don't know if any other member of the council wishes to respond, but can we do so?
Stephanie, yes, I have been down there. We've been down there for years, and I am aware of, in essence, where it would be, and hopefully, it won't be as dramatic as it's diagrammed currently.
That would be wonderful if it wasn't, because if anybody has not, I would ask that before voting on this, just to fully understand, the scope of the project and how it will impact the park. You can email me at friendsoftheglen@gmail.com, or if you have my personal email address, I'm very happy to visit the location with anybody, just to show, and again, based on the Schnabel engineering drawings and based on our tree mapping, which we did based on that, where we understand will be impacted. So, thank you.
Stephanie, well, one question for you, actually, two. You mentioned the Friends of the Glen cleanup, and that might take place, I guess, this weekend or the following weekend. Did I hear you correctly?
So, well, it's scheduled for Earth Day, which is Sunday, the 22nd, and the forecast is shifting. At one point, they said it might be torrential rain and thunderstorms, which would be a clear cancellation, reschedule. We can't cancel, we'll reschedule it. But now it's looking like 50% chance of rain. We're hoping it continues to be lower than that. So we may still have it on Sunday, but we might need to have it next weekend.
If it goes forward, at what time will it begin?
So this Sunday, it would be 10 to 2, and we do provide lunch for people who let us know in advance that they'll be there. You can register.
And the CRC Watersheds event, which is May 5,
Yes,
that's
that's
a
9.
Saturday.
Yes.
That's 9 o'clock,
9 to 11:30.
out of the park.
Yes, and that's straightforward, picking up things throughout the park, so picking up trash.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does anyone else wish to come forward and address council this time? And please identify yourself by name and address.
David Miller, 981 Oak Crest Lane, Media, Upper Providence. My wife and I took the liberty for our own edification due to the fact that the questionnaire on the 3rd Street project that was distributed to media residents, we were not included in Upper Providence. So we figured we would try and do a small poll on our own. We printed a similar questionnaire, about 150 copies were distributed on Kirk Lane, almost halfway down to Orange Street, all the way down to 3rd Street, of course, and a little bit beyond. Also on Highland, that road, and also the cul-de-sacs off of Highland, to all the houses in Toll Brothers, the new development there, just to kind of get a feel for what the residents on our side of the 3rd Street Bridge had as far as their feelings. And it was, I don't know whether you're familiar with the questionnaire, you probably are by now, but option 1A, which has to replace the dam, provide automobile, bicycle, and pedestrian access, that ranked heavily in favor of. There were, actually, we got 18 returns, so it's about the same, it's about 15%, and I believe in media, they received about a 17% return. The next option, which would be 2A, which is to remove the dam and provide automobile and bicycle and pedestrian access. That ranked number 2 as far as a positive thing, obviously, to provide automobile, bicycle, and pedestrian access. It was not as heavy as remaining or rebuilding the dam, but it was a factor as well. The other 2 options would be to replace the dam and just have bicycle and pedestrian access only, or remove the dam and provide bicycle and pedestrian access only. There was a heavily, strongly disapproval of that. People want to have, obviously, automobile traffic to be able to shop in media, access for emergency vehicles, and all the things that we've obviously discussed, or you folks have discussed over the period. Some of the residents on 3rd Street, I believe, and nearby, who are possibly feel that they're going to be affected by the high density of traffic if the bridge is replaced for all vehicles. They have a concern, but we who live on Oak Crest have a concern as well, because it appears as though since that bridge has been out and unusable, there's been a lot of traffic coming down Oak Crest, which is a cul-de-sac, and turning around and going back because they figure out they can't get there. To the point we had to have or asked to have a no outlet sign put at the top of the street. It's not a big deal, but it is obviously the people that are looking to find a shortcut to get into media, do shopping, go to restaurants and what have you, that bridge, once replaced, will provide that access. And that's pretty much it. I understand you're not going to vote until next month, but I wanted to give you that input.
Are you willing to share your results with us?
Yes.
I know you shared them verbally, but do you have a paper that you can share with us? And
I have these the questionnaires, which I'll let you have.
All right, very good.
We did basically a hand, tally, which we could clean up for you. So why don't we do,
Just give them to them.
okay. My wife says just give me.
Do what she said. All right.
I can do this as well. But, there you go. All right, wait a minute, hold now.
And Mr. Miller, your address is?
981 Oak Crest Lane.
Okay, very good. I'll see that we make copies of these and we can return them to you.
Okay,
Very good.
perfect, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming forward. Appreciate the effort that you've taken. Anybody else who wishes to come forward at this time?
Paul Indor, 339 West Worth Street, and Friends of Worth Street Dam. A lot of talk around town about this, and one thing that I found that might make the whole thing less safer, and was one of the recommendations, actually two of the recommendations that the CAC had made. One was for some hybrid project. They were necessarily confined to the four options that they were given, and probably best so. With regard to council's options, they're considerably broader. And I would encourage you all to take into account any number of possibilities that we haven't even come up with yet. In terms of having something for everyone, something that's less offensive to some, that sort of thing. One other thing in the CAC report was the recommendation that council retain a landscape architect in addition to the engineers. The engineers have their job. A big part of this has been the aesthetics from the beginning. And I think a landscape architect can give us all some things that we can look at and be able to evaluate, not just imagining what something might look like, but get some of the pictures in front of us. The other thing is, PennDOT does not ask for anything carved in stone at this time. Their only concern is that the project is moving forward, which it certainly is. And so I would encourage you to, once again, consider all possible options.
Thank you, Mr. Indor. Does anyone else wish to come forward at this time?
Cindy Miller, 981 Oak Crest Lane, Media, Upper Providence Township. I'm Dave's wife. I spoke at length to Mr. Smith last week. And I'm going to open this by saying that in a perfect world, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. In a perfect world, that bridge would have never deteriorated. It would have the vehicular traffic that it has always had, or had always had. It would have the access for emergency vehicles that it had always had. And people could walk across it as they had always had. It's not a perfect world. And that's why we're here. And that's why I'd like to say what I would like to say tonight. Throughout the years, and we're talking 16 years, there have been signs up. I'm going to refer to it as promising when we might see construction on that road. There hasn't been anything done. It upsets me. People are concerned about the traffic on 3rd Street increasing. I can appreciate that, but I'm wondering how the people on Orange Street felt when that closed and their traffic has now increased. I know for a fact that and I actually work with this individual, lives on Highland, has refused to shop in Media. The only way she goes to Media is to bank in Media. And she said if in fact there was a bank closer, she would use that bridge because of that street being out. I feel that the businesses are being hindered by this unfortunate situation. I feel that we as residents are being hindered by it. I feel that emergency traffic is a definite issue, and I explained to Mr. Smith that I had my own personal situation with my aunt 2 years ago where I needed an ambulance twice in one night for her. We took her to Brittle with a very unforeseen situation, brought her home. We were home no less than 3 hours. She passed out and I had to call again. If in fact that woman did not make it because that ambulance had to come farther than 3rd Street by coming either by way of Baltimore Pike or Orange Street, I would have been a very, very, very upset individual. That being said, it sounds personal. It is personal. But I'm here to speak for the rest of the people that live on our side of the bridge, where they also may at some point in time need emergency vehicles. Be it a fire, well, Rose Street we have our own fire truck, our trucks. And obviously there could be a time where we need more than just them, but it's the ambulance that concerns me. I know that if anybody has made this turn where you go down Kirk Lane, you make the left onto Ridley, and then you want to come into town and you want to make the left onto Baltimore Pike, it's like taking your life in your hands. The traffic, it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone. Upper Providence Police have watched them sit there and look for offenders, and I'm sure they have caught them. By coming off of that hill and down where we need to make our left-hand turn, or not we, anybody, to come into media, it's very dangerous. That being said, and I don't mean to sound like I'm beating a horse to death, but that 3rd Street would eliminate some of that traffic. I guess I'm concerned about the funding deadline. I would be the first to admit I don't understand the mechanics of it, but I know that there is a deadline, and it would seem to me that it slightly upset me to hear tonight that a decision was not going to be made tonight, and yet now it's postponed one more month. I think time is of the essence before we lose what money has been offered to us by the state or the federal, and if I'm speaking out of turn and not quoting where this money's coming from, I apologize. And I want to thank the CAC for the work they did. I know they were under a lot of pressure. It took an incredible amount of time on their personal time to put together what they put together. It's unfortunate that, again, it was not a perfect world and people were missed with their questionnaires. That being said, I think they still did a very good job. But as my husband explained, we too did our own questionnaire. Thank you, gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller, for your heartfelt comments. May I add that we are all mindful here on council of various concerns, including funding deadlines. And we have received assurances that our decision in May will comply with this funding deadline. So it was the case that the deadline initially was May 15th, which if you look at the calendar is 2 days before our legislative meeting in May, and we requested and received a 3-day extension until May 18th. So we'll be fine with that, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to come at this time to address council? I see Jane Rowland, I understand you are the exception to our ironclad rule. Jane Rowland, East 2nd Street.
Any information about media school?
There is some information about media school, but not complete information. That will be addressed by Vice President Simpson in her report.
Sure, Greg. That turn is
Well,
insane. My name's Rich
Name, address.
Hoffman.
There you go.
And it's 502 West Front Street in Media. I agree with that. The turn on Baltimore Pike is pretty insane, and you do take your life in your hands. And regardless of the outcome of the bridge and dam, is there anything? I know it's outside of media, but is there anything that she could do to advocate a stoplight or something there that changes the traffic pattern a little bit and makes it more safe for people to make left-hand turns there?
Upper Providence has its own governing body, and
Right. That's why I was wondering if Upper Providence people are watching tonight, maybe they could think about what they could do to make that, regardless of the decision that happens with media, to make that a safer intersection for everybody.
agreed. Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward at this time? Yes, sir.
My name's Jim O'Brien. I live at 508 Parks Edge Lane. And I also work in media. I don't know if a lot of people know me. I'm the local UPS driver. And I drive around media 10 hours a day. I know the streets, the traffic. And I don't want people on the other side of the bridge to the emergency situation, I would hope it could be worked out. But the decision to open that bridge to traffic, I don't think is a good idea, because it's bringing more cars into median. You're voting on an idea to bring more vehicles through median. There's too many vehicles driving through median now. Just gonna have more people on their cell phones, driving. You can't, 3rd Street, it's hard to get by where Eric Stein lives, correct? You can't get through 3rd Street. I mean, rush hour, it's a nightmare. You know, I just can't understand why you would want to bring more vehicles through the town. That's just my experience of driving through median 10 hours a day. That, you know, I don't think it's a good decision to have vehicles, to open that bridge for vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for your
Thank you.
vantage point on the issue. Anyone else wish to come forward and speak at this time? All right, we appear to have exhausted the long line of tonight's participants. I will mention this before we go into the committee reports, and it is in connection with the 3rd Street Bridge. As others have mentioned, the Citizens Advisory Committee, which was commissioned by this council to get a sense of where Borough residents as well as business owners were in terms of their thinking about this project. They have completed their report. They have completed their survey and their report. Those who wish to look at the report may do so. It is on the Borough website, mediaborough.com. It is there in all of its glory, including all of the appendixes. You can read it. Also, if you wish to comment on that report, you may do so. You may send a letter to Borough Council. You may email Borough Council. You may come forward at our next workshop meeting, which I believe is May 3rd, the first Thursday of May, if you wish to comment. So plenty of opportunities if you wish to voice concerns. Or if you wish to voice praise. All right, so let us now move to the reports, the engineer's report. Mr. Johnson, you've been waiting so patiently.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'll do a brief summary of my engineer's report for March 2012. We provided a list of roads for the road resurfacing project 2012 to the borough. That is being reviewed this time. We've also been in contact with Miller Brothers for the CMAC project along Baltimore Avenue. They've started to address the punch list. I do expect a written response to the punch list shortly. Just going through here, we've also been working with Little Washington Wastewater. They've come in at various places to clean inlets and to televise some of their sanitary sewer system within the borough. Excuse me. The other items that we worked on this month were the Hampton Inn Suites for a plan for the subdivision lot line adjustment and 504 North Plum Street. At that point, that's my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Stole my line. Does anyone have any questions of our engineer?
I do want to make one other note that there was an application, or applications I should say, by Aqua America and PICO for some road opening permits, which are being reviewed by the borough. So I do believe they have started to paint the streets with utility markings, so if people see that, it's part of some infrastructure replacement by Aqua and PICO.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of the engineer? Not hearing any, we'll turn to the borough solicitor, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. I don't have anything at this time. I'll just remark on some items as we go through the agenda.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott? We'll turn then to the mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The police department handled 766 complaints during the month of March. There were, once again, no burglaries during the month of March, and there were a total of 54 traffic details throughout the borough during March. I'm going to fast forward. Jeff, I have no proclamations for you. Okay. We do have a parade coming up a week from Saturday. It is April 28th. It will be to honor those who have served since 9/11, those that are part of the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, and have returned home. The logical place to hold a regional parade of this such is media, since we've been holding welcome home parades, basically Bob Dine, myself, and several other people since 1991. We held the first one, and 21 years later, we're still doing it. In order to be an effective welcome home, because we all know that the war in Iraq is basically over, but the war in Afghanistan is not. It's going to be more than just a parade and a welcome home. It's going to be an outreach and awareness, which means we're having a jobs fair. We will have employers such as the state police, who are hiring veterans, and really mostly veterans. Ford Motors, Cigna, Secret Service, I know they're in the news, but they signed up weeks ago, so it was before all what you were reading, but they will be there. But the most important people that will be there will be the providers, like the Veterans Administration, Career Link, those that give veterans an opportunity to get a job when they come back. Veterans, and I'll just say it, are not reaching out for their benefits. They don't know most of the benefits. They don't know what laws are passed, and they're not reaching out to these offices. So our congressional, our House of representatives from Delaware County, Bob Brady and Pat Meehan will be there, and they are having booths. Actually, they're having a booth together. Senator Toomey and Senator Casey also are working with us, as is the governor's office. So we'll have a nice representation of people, and the idea is to have kind of a one place where they can go, and our website is, some of you see the flyer, welcomehome2012.org. That will be ongoing past April 28th. Monica, you commented that you heard this on Rachel Maddow's show. It's being started in St. Louis back in January, and there have been welcome homes around the country since, and we're next up on April 28th. Bob, I know your son's going to be there, and I know you and he are going to lead the flags passing. Bob, of course, is a Korean War veteran. His son Joe is a veteran of both Iraq and Afghanistan, I believe, and will be present. We are having a press conference on Monday in media where Congressman Brady and me will be there to help announce what they are jointly doing to do this outreach. So, it begins at 3 o'clock on April 28th. We think there will be a lot of people there if the weather is fine. And also, we think that the restaurants and the businesses will benefit a lot from it. We are going to try to warn people that there will be a lot of traffic that day. We're figuring out everything we can to accommodate the people that may want to come, which includes shuttle buses possibly to Rose Street Park, from Rose Street Park. So, what am I missing? Yeah, the rain date is April 28th. And that's because, same day. There's no rain. We have a tent. We have a tent where the providers will be.
30 foot by 60.
30 foot by 60 foot.
And everyone else will get wet.
And everybody else, bring an umbrella. That's the way it is. What we probably would lose would be the bands. The Naval Academy is sending their ceremonial band, Pancrest, of course, and others. So I think the Naval Academy band will start playing around 2:15 on State Street. Mostly entertaining up until we begin. I know I'm missing something, so.
So long, we'll all see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see. That's it, thanks.
Does anyone have any questions for the mayor?
Mr. Mayor, where would it begin? Would it be like last homecoming parade that started at the two malls on Work
No,
28 or
no,
State Street?
no, we're gonna do our best to do it the same way. We wanted to complicate it, and Bob Stein said no. So I wanted to have a flag passing on State Street. I wanted to start it here, there, and we figured out why we've been doing this for the last 21 years the same way, so we're gonna do it the same way. And if there's a much larger crowd, then we'll just accommodate everybody. It's also going to be broadcast live on the Philly station 1210 at 3 o'clock, and I'm not sure whether Channel 3 is going to do something more on it. That's still up in the
Flag passing.
The flag passing ceremony is at the end of the parade where veterans of past wars, meaning World War II through Persian Gulf, will present flags to those that have served since 9/11 as they pass the revealing stand. Just like we do on Veterans Day, but a little more involved. That's it.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for the mayor at this time? Hearing none, let's move to the council committee reports. First up, Councilman Davidson, Finance, Personnel, and Library.
Thank you, President Hall. Finance Committee met this Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Public is invited to any of these finance meetings if you want to learn more about finances of the borough. Just a quick status report. The incomes of the incomes to the borough actually were in a very good position in the first quarter. We have about 30% of the revenues collected for the year in terms of what we budgeted this year, which essentially means that we're ahead of where we should need to be. And I guess April being tax month, apparently revenues are coming this month, but it's putting us even in a better position. In terms of expenses, we're at about 20%. So essentially, we're in a very good position financially. So I just want to make that report. Second thing I want to bring up is the payment of bills. The Finance Committee met, and we recommend the payment of bills in the following amounts from the funds. General Fund for $361,805.12. Recreation Fund, $2,594. No funds from Liquid Fuels Fund. And finally, Capital Fund, $3,802.25 for a total of $368,201.37. I'll make that in the form of a motion to pay all bills for the month of March.
So moved.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of payment of the March bills from the general, recreation, and capital funds, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
For personnel, I'm sad to announce the resignation and retirement of Margaret Thomas for the Administration Department. So I'll make it in the form of a motion to accept the resignation of Margaret Thomas.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
She will sorely be missed.
Yes, you will. I will call the question. All those in favor of accepting the resignation, retirement of Margaret Thomas, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Finally, just a few announcements for the library. The library is holding a book sale this weekend, the 20th, 21st, and 22nd of April, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Stone Cottage, right outside this building. I encourage all media residents and all people from the area to come out and buy some books. It helps support the library, it gives them funding, and it's a good event, and they have a great selection of books at the Stone Cottage right outside here. Secondly, as I mentioned before, the library is undergoing a refresh project, about a $2.2 million project. They have announced that this October they're going to sort of target to be their big capital fundraising sort of month. So for folks who are interested in contributing to this new project, it is a beautiful looking building. I encourage you to take a look at it. You can visit mediauplibrary.org and or .com, I think, one of those two, and check it out, and as well as go to the library and see pictures of it. So again, October this year. Sharpen your checkbooks and write a check to the library. And that's all I have to report.
Are there any questions for Councilman Davidson? Hearing none, we will then proceed to Recreation and Shade Tree. That is Councilwoman Borough.
Thank you. I only have one legislative issue to discuss this month and to make in the form of a motion. We have had a vacancy on our Civil Service Commission. We are very happy and grateful to Ms. Karen Brodsicka, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, has been gracious enough to step forward and volunteer her time. We have reviewed her application, and everyone seems quite happy with that, and I would like to make that in the form of a motion that Karen Brodsicka be nominated and appointed to the Civil Service Commission.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Quick question, Mr. Smith, what is the length of the term?
It's a 3-year term.
3-year term. All right, I will call the question. All those in favor of appointing Karen Sika to the Civil Service Commission for a 3-year term, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Otherwise, I have nothing to report tonight, nothing specific from Recreation or the Shade Tree Commission. As we mentioned before, Recreation has many, many programs that are wonderful. They're all available on the website along with their calendar of events. And the Shade Tree Commission also has its meetings and any events that they do posted. So feel free to check those out at any time. And I think that's actually all I have tonight.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Councilwoman Rowe? All right, thank you very much. We'll proceed then to Properties, Economic Development, Fair Trade, and Farmers Market. That's Vice President Simpson.
Thank you very much. I'll start with properties, and as Council President Mr. Hall mentioned earlier at your question about any news on Media Elementary School, for those of you who don't have students in Media Elementary School, you may not have heard via the school district. We were invited, members of council were invited down to meet with their superintendent and principal from the school regarding some construction project that was forthcoming. There are some repairs that need to be made. It was noted that there was some structural damage to some of the support beams. The students were relocated out of that immediate area, and they did put in temporary stresses to alleviate that for the time being while they did further investigation. We met again with their team, including their borough engineer, the school district's engineer. And what they had decided to do under further investigation was to replace all of the original wooden trusses holding up the roof with steel at one time rather than some now, some later. And so in order to carry that forward, they were going to have to close the school for the next school year, 2012-13. Their reason for reaching out to us was so that we could work together for the community and also assure that anything that needed to be provided as support for permits, etc., would happen along with their guidelines and timeline. Where the students would be going has not been completely determined yet. They are still ongoing, looking at different options. One of the options they presented to us was to actually utilize the Borough fields at Edgemont and State Street with some modular units. Again, we will be meeting with them next month. I think we should have some further information, but we wanted to let you know that these are some of the things they are considering. Our position with that property, the school district actually owns Borough Park. We lease it from them for the borough recreation activities. The school district uses it for their varsity girls softball team, and of course for recess during the school year for the students at Media Elementary. So we will keep you up to date when we get information, and we should have that by the next meeting. So that would answer your question, Mrs. Mahoney. They are looking at other options and other facilities that they might be able to utilize. So, they're doing due diligence, and we're waiting. Yeah.
How old is the building? After they redid it a couple of years ago, how many years ago?
It's 100 years.
No.
1993.
93.
Yeah.
So
2
what
and 3.
is-
92 and 3.
The wood wasn't bad then, or they didn't look?
That was not, now this is from before then, it's not anything that.
No, they were the original trusses, and they were, from what I understand, in fine shape at the time of the restoration in
Oh.
93.
Okay.
It was 20 years ago, so it appears as if the damage has been done over the past 20 years.
Okay.
Nothing to report on economic development at this meeting this evening. Farmers Market, I'm really thrilled to announce that the market opens for this season on May 10th. And again, the hours this year will be from 3 to 7 p.m. We also would like to welcome a new market manager, Mr. Joe Face, I believe it's Basic, who is a local resident, media resident, and also a local area chef. So he will be the on-site market manager on market days. So we hope you will all come out and check it out. Mediafarmersmarket.org. You can see all of the things that are happening and what's in season that particular week.
Same place?
Same place.
Which is?
Which is next to the Media Theater on State Street in the parking lot adjacent to the theater.
On what days?
On Thursdays from May to November. Finally, Regarding fair trade, we are very happy that, as I mentioned last month, Media became the first fair trade town in North America in 2006. And since then, another 25 towns and cities across the country have joined us. So we're very involved in keeping up to date, and we are always being requested, and our Fair Trade Committee is wonderful at responding to requests to host visiting folks from different parts of the world, different parts of the United States who want to come and see what we're doing here. We were lucky to have Ken Davidson be able to join a group that went on a fact-finding tour to the Dominican Republic recently to see really how fair trade works at the producer level. So we're going to indulge a little slideshow here, and Ken's going to talk briefly about his week in the Dominican Republic with that team.
Hello. Do this real quick, and I have a nice treat for council. If anyone wants, I brought fair trade chocolate. And I don't know if anyone in the audience would like fair trade chocolate as well.
Fair trade ice cream?
Break it up. Okay, so, whoops. All right, so I'm going to let the slides go behind me. I'm just going to talk about my trip. As Monica mentioned, I recently returned from the Dominican Republic on a week-long trip sponsored by our Fair Trade USA to learn more about fair trade cooperatives in the Dominican Republic and to visit and meet the people who benefit from fair trade policies. Can everyone see?
Now we can.
Okay, just make sure we get everything here. Are we good? Okay. Can everyone see? No, I can't read, of course. That's all right. But first, I just want to quickly just give a quick overview. I can go ahead and turn the lights down. Of what fair trade is. A lot of people ask me what they don't know what fair trade is. Media's, America's first fair trade town, and a lot of people don't know exactly what that means. So, just to quickly explain, fair trade basically means workers' rights. So, it means that farmers, producers, and workers get paid a living wage in other countries for producing goods that we purchase here, in Media in particular. So, if you're a believer that workers have the right to form unions, to be paid fairly, to negotiate their own contracts, then you believe in fair trade. If you believe that workers should earn a living wage, then you believe in fair trade. To be clear, fair trade is not about sending jobs overseas or about paying more for products. Most fair trade goods are things we must import into the United States. Things like coffee, cocoa, bananas, to name a few. As well, fair trade set up standards so that income from a fair trade cooperative in another country is reinvested into the communities that are members. In this case, it means that your money spent buying fair trade products or fair trade coffee goes to a scholarship for a farmer's child in the Dominican Republic to go to college. Or it means when you buy fair trade cocoa, your money goes to help farmers form a credit union to save money together and then finance their projects. What I learned in this trip was that fair trade has made a huge difference in the lives of workers who live in the Dominican Republic. I also witnessed how each cooperative organizes itself, shares in revenues, and governs itself. We spent a fair amount of time learning about how each product is processed and tested for quality. The trip consisted of myself and 11 individuals from around the country involved in fair trade and 4 members from Fair Trade USA, a total of about 16 people. We worked with a group called Global Exchange, which was our local representative there and gave us a tour of the country. While I was there, we visited 4 different cooperatives. Conacado was a cocoa growing cooperative. Altagracia, a sweatshop-free fair trade textile plant, which you'll see actually previously. Fericaras, a fair trade coffee growers cooperative. And Probada, a 100% organic fair trade banana cooperative. At each, we met with the cooperative representatives and discussed their structure and how they shared stories with us about how fair trade has benefited their lives. As well as able to spend about 2 days with a family who was a member of the cocoa cooperative and learn more about how fair trade has benefited them. To share some selected stories, I met a daughter of a coffee farmer, the youngest of 8 children, who was the first in her family to go to college. She will be graduating this year and plans on coming to work at Fericaras, the coffee cooperative we visited. When she was telling us her story, she had tears in her eyes with gratitude that she had the opportunity to go to college with the money from fair trade products. We met workers at the textile manufacturing facility who now earn more than 5 times what they earned previously and are able to send their children to school or even afford to purchase their home or purchase a small plot of land to live on. Finally, we met with organizers within each of the unions who has grown by 200 to 400% in the past decade due to fair trade policies. The past Media Borough Council deserves praise for their courage and conviction in becoming America's first fair trade town. There are now 23 fair trade towns and cities in the United States. And towns, small towns like Boston, Chicago, and San Francisco have followed in our footsteps. There are over 1,000 fair trade towns in the world spanning 5 continents and 22 countries. Finally, we now have another first. Pencrest High School is the first fair trade public high school in the United States. Finally, I want to encourage all businesses and media who purchase textiles, agricultural products, or goods which can only be produced in other countries to support fair trade products. As consumers, by simply asking companies if their products are fair trade will send a message that you support fair wages, fair payment of workers, and supporting the people who produce our goods. I will finish with a quote from one of the cooperative farmers. Quote, "While our whole community has benefited from fair trade, I want people to know the true story. Many of our farms are beautiful, but many are still so poor. I ask you to continue your efforts so together we can help lift them out of poverty." Thank you, and please visit firstfairtradetownusa.org and like us on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson, and welcome back. Does anyone have any questions for Vice President Simpson? Hearing none, I will turn over the gavel to her. And deliver my report concerning the Community Development and Media Arts Council. 3 items. First of which, this is sort of a ministerial matter. At our last workshop meeting, we discussed the release of certain escrow funds that we have kept for quite some time. Oftentimes, when someone comes forward and they wish to do something here in the borough, such as building a building or doing something with their land, they're required to put some money in the pot. It's called an escrow fund. And we use that for various permits, et cetera, things that come up in connection with that application. Sometimes there's money left over in that pot. And sometimes the folks that put the money in the pot don't claim it, despite our best efforts. We have attempted to contact these applicants and return the money to them, but they have not responded. And so at some point, and we're at that point, we have to put the money somewhere. And we have agreed to do so, to deliver the money to the Pennsylvania Department of Treasury's Bureau of Unclaimed Property. And so we need to ratify that by way of resolution. The resolution is 2012-01, release of escrow funds. And I move that we ratify that resolution at tonight's meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Call the question. All those in favor of ratifying resolution number 2012-01, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Carries 7-0.
And for those who are curious, the total amount is $535.34. So not a tremendous amount, but we can't sit on it forever. 2 other items. One involves the final subdivision application for 504 North Plum Street. This is an interesting property. It's interesting because it's almost landlocked. It is in between North Jackson and North Olive Street, and there is street frontage on the 6th Street side. So basically between 5th Street, 6th Street, in between Jackson and Hollow. There are actually 3 plots in this piece of land. They're all owned by the same owner. The owner wishes to develop one of those plots, the one that faces out onto 6th Street. That issue is not before us today. The issue that's before us today is a request to move the lot lines a little bit on the 3 existing properties. That's something that we typically have permitted so long as it does not create a hardship, or we're not allowing the property owner to create their own hardship by rejiggering the lines in such a way that they can't build something on there according to code. The applicant here has done so, is requesting that the lines be moved in a way that is satisfactory to the borough solicitor, to the borough engineer, and to the the planning committee, which approved the request by a 6-0 vote. So I'm moving tonight that we approve the final subdivision application of 504 North Plum Street, and I make that in the form of the motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded for final subdivision application for 504 North Plum Street. Any discussion? And call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
My last item for legislative action is really my request that we take no action. This is a zoning hearing board matter. It's kind of an interesting issue. The property is at 320, 324 South Jackson Street. So it's at the northwest corner of the intersection of Jefferson and Jackson Streets. If you're familiar with it, it's a house that has a couple of what look like townhouses attached to it. That's the property that we're talking about. It's a peculiar property because it's actually a condo association. And the history behind this is that at the time that this development went in, townhomes were permitted in the R1 district. And that was what was proposed there. But the backyard of this property is the old mediocre, which has been, I guess, was taken down about 3-4 years ago due to concerns about its structural integrity. It was we were concerned that it was going to come down on its own, and that's the property. But at the time that this development went in, there was concerns about where that mediocre would be and who would be responsible for taking care of it. So the idea was floated that there would be a condo association, and then all 3 property owners, the residents of all 3 of those homes would take care of it together. The request now is to add property lines to that property. There no longer is the mediocre, so the owner of the properties would like there to be actual property lines so that the owners of the buildings can own them in fee simple. Right now, the owners of those buildings owns the footprint of the building. And if somebody were to come and purchase one of those properties, they would own the footprint of the building, not the backyard. So what they're asking is to extend, is to put property lines on the property lines that will divide up that current piece of real estate. They need zoning relief because this is a pre-existing non-conforming use. It's townhomes, and they're no longer permitted in R1. The practical matter, there will be no difference to what is there if they are granted their request before the zoning hearing board. And it was the recommendation of the planning commission, which heard this by a 5-1 margin, that the borough not send its solicitor to oppose this application. I agree with it because I think as a practical matter, it will not make a difference to the neighborhood. In fact, I think it will have some benefits to the neighborhood because it is far easier to sell a home with land attached than just a condo. Currently, those residences are rented. I think that we, as a town, we'd like to promote home ownership for a number of different reasons, and I think that this will help accomplish that goal. So I'm not making a motion, but I will entertain any motion from any other member of council if they wish to make one concerning this application. All right. right, well, that concludes the legislative portion of my report. Just one announcement, actually more by way of a welcome. Over the past week, 2 weeks, we've had 2 restaurant openings here in Media, Spazzo's and Diego's. And on behalf of all council, I bid them welcome, and I wish them good fortune. I didn't know, your thunder's not on the agenda. Why, no.
Are there any other questions for President Hall?
All right, well, let's move along to the now thunderless Dr. Stein, Technology, Media Business Authority, and Environmental Advisory Council. Eric?
Thank you very much. Mr. Smith, do we have to execute or pass a motion to accept the memo of understanding that we discussed at the last workshop? So, in the last workshop, we put forth a memo of understanding between the Borough Media and the fire station. Do we need to read the whole thing?
No, I think summarize, just a
Okay.
summary of it.
Just summarize that.
Try to do if you want to read.
Will you please?
Yeah, the last year the borough agreed to install an electric vehicle charging station next to the firehouse. And the arrangement was that the installer would reimburse the borough for electricity used. Well, the electricity is drawn from the firehouse's account, which is paid separately, and so this agreement, this memorandum of understanding is amending the original agreement to provide that they pay the fire company rather than the borough.
And that was with the community energy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes. And again, we want to thank them for being involved in facilitating, putting together one of the first towns to have an electric vehicle charging station. So this would simply transfer that payment from the borough to the firehouse. Is that correct? Yes. And my motion is to enter into that agreement.
All right, there's been a motion to enter into an agreement concerning the electric vehicle charging proceeds. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I hear 2 seconds. Is there any question on the motion? Not hearing any question, I'll call the question. All those in favor of entering into the memorandum of understanding, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Oh, I can really thunder.
There you go.
Thank you. I will continue with environmental related and EIC related matters. Just to announce that energy efficient lights have been installed in the parking garage here in Media, and also occupancy sensors. These are projects that actually go back for the last couple of years and have been installed in Borough Hall. Again, the borough is interested in, much as possible, trying to save energy wherever possible. So again, I'm delighted that those projects are completed. On the EAC, we have a resignation to accept. Taylor Gregory has resigned from the EAC for personal reasons. So we need to, I'd like them to, with regrets for the service rendered Taylor Gregory, but for personal reasons, we wanted to move to accept the resignation.
The motion's been made. Is there a second on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor accepting the resignation of Taylor Gregory from the Environmental Advisory Council, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And so, again, we do have an opening vacancy on the Environmental Advisory Council, and we encourage you to contact Walt Kressler for your interest in that. You can also go to the borough website or contact Mr. Smith for letters of interest in that vacancy. And again, we really appreciate the public and those who have served so far in that position. I just wanted to announce kind of a joint. There's a joint task force that I'm trying to help coordinate, which would really be a task force on trash and recycling, which would involve membership between, especially in the downtown district, but it would involve representatives from the EAC, from the NDA, and myself, and probably Mr. Smith, and to start, and just to try to, because these problems cut across, especially in the business district, cut across different lines of authority and responsibility. I thought it would be a good idea to put together a task force to focus on, making downtown media as clean and as inviting as possible. I think we've made progress, but we want to continue to make progress in that area. So, from the EAC, representing the EAC will be Addie Cianella, will be on that, and I will be receiving a nomination from the NBA shortly. Okay, let's see. That concludes my report on EAC matters. With regard to the MBA, just some announcements. The 10th annual Roots Ramble will take place this Saturday, April 21st. For tickets and information, please visit statestreetblues.com. And so again, this is a great event. Those of you, this is an eclectic mix of American folk, blues, everything. It's a really fun night, and hopefully the weather will cooperate a little bit. But in either case, it's always a good event, so we encourage everyone to come out. And if you see the streets are busy, that's one of the reasons. So that's this Saturday night. Additionally, this begins the 5th season of Dining Under the Stars, which will begin shortly on May 2nd, which is every Wednesday, and will extend through September. So we do, by the way, met with the mayor and some representatives of people who coordinate that activity, and we trying to just make sure that runs as efficiently and effectively as possible. And it's just been a terrific event, and we're really excited to start off this new season with that. Okay, works in progress. The NBA has signed a contract to advertise on a digital billboard along I-95. The contract will allow the NBA to advertise key events with a focus on promoting general awareness of media, and will provide media businesses access to discounted billboard rates in smaller one-week time blocks. Additionally, promotional arrangements have been made with the Main Line Today and FIG, which will also advertise events which highlight, while highlighting media in general and enabling discount rates for individual businesses to advertise through these outlets. More details on all of these programs will be shared with the business community shortly. I would imagine that they'll be posted. If you're on the MBA's email list, you probably will receive it through that. You also can go to the MBA's website, or you can go to the borough's website, click on business, and then from there you can get to the MBA. So you have multiple outlets to get through there. The MBA is working with Mr. William Baldwin, Executive Director of the Delaware County Bar Association, to celebrate Law Day in May by providing 15 minutes of free legal advice on business-related topics. The Franklin Mint will provide offices for lawyers to meet with business owners, a date to be soon announced. So that will be sometime in May. Juror Appreciation Week is also in May. Letters to businesses were sent to collect gift certificates and giveaways so they can be distributed to jurors. And the MBA is excited to announce and to welcome 2 great new restaurants, Spazos and Diego's. Okay. On to IT. Well, you may or may not know that Media Borough is a member of the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs. Each year they host an annual meeting where people from, representatives from boroughs all across the state come together. There's also publication that is provided to all of us and for all the boroughs, because there are common problems and common challenges, and also that benefit from coming together periodically, either through publications, websites, or through face-to-face. And so they host an annual meeting. As part of that meeting, they also recognize, in addition to providing opportunity to exchange best practices, they also recognize best practices and exemplary activities or projects that have been done throughout the state. Well, media has been cited as to receive the award for the best website among all the Pennsylvania state boroughs for this year. So I'm delighted to announce that. Also want to thank Monica Simpson and Kent. We were on the design committee for that and on the IT committee, and just really excited that we could provide the citizens with a pretty good website, and the association is recognizing us for that. So, and we'll continue to make it better. I mean, it's not perfect, but we think it's a pretty good start, and we're delighted to receive this award coming up next month. We also, we're working with Ken Davidson and myself comprise the IT committee, and we will continue to work on, we have a number of projects, we just recently met this week, we have a number of projects to everything from streamlining and making sure that our IT infrastructure is where it should be to support the borough staff and management, as well as making sure that we can reach out, connect, and make the connection between the borough and the community. So businesses and residents by being able to exchange information. So we have a number of projects we're putting together, and details on that to follow. But again, I'm delighted where we're moving towards that. We're dedicated to making media as accessible to the public as possible. That concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Stein. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Stein? Okay, well then let's move along. Health in the Store. Councilwoman Rohrick.
Thank you very much. I have nothing for action this evening, but I do have some announcements. Under the Media Historical Society, they have an exciting event coming up on May 5th of this year, 2 Saturdays from now. They are hosting an appraisal day over at the Providence Friends Meeting House on North Providence Road here in Media. It's a wonderful event where you can bring your articles, your paintings, decorative arts, your whatnots, and come and find out if they are worth anything, or could be $1 million, who knows. The Freeman's Auctioneers and Appraisals of Philadelphia will review American European paintings and decorative arts. It's going to be restricted to the first 100 people because this is the birth of this event. And the appraisal is going to be limited to one item. There's also going to be an entrance fee of $10 that will be charged with the proceeds going towards the maintenance of the Minchell House here in Media. Free parking will be available on a first-come, first-served basis at the Providence Friends Meeting House. They do need volunteers, as always, for all of their events. They need things for the Minchell House property, for cleanups, dusting, cleaning windows, just making the house ready for public viewing, which will be coming up in June. I believe it's the first weekend in June of this year, and it will be open. The house will be open for tours Sundays, June through September, from 12 to 4 p.m. It's a free open house, so you can just come as you please. They do have private tours that can be arranged if necessary. Any school or groups or organizations that would love to come through Minchell House, which is our oldest house here in Media, just have to go to info@mediahistoricalsociety.com or contact Kathy LaRusso, who is the president, and her number and information is on that website as well, and you can arrange your own private tour for the house. Also, just on the back burner for now is the house tour of 2012, which is slated for December 8th of this year. It's going to be a candlelight house tour, if I'm correct. Actually, we have the treasurer here in our audience, Ms. McFarland. There's going to be a candlelight tour this year?
Yes.
Really? You fought for it?
No, unfortunately, I never agreed to that. Continue to.
Well, somebody fought for it.
Somebody fought for it. I'm concerned about parking at that time of the night in Media during resident blocks, and I'm concerned about the state of the sidewalks. Walking in the dark is not the most wonderful thing in Media. The streets is where I walk in the dark. So, but no, I have to admit I did not vote for that. But
Well,
it
maybe
is,
somebody swayed you this time.
it is from two. I'm sorry, what did you say, Rob? What can I say? You know, you ask me a question, you get the answer. But it is 2 to 7.
2 to 7
2 to
p.m. on
7.
that Saturday, which is also falls on the second Saturday of the month, so there are second Saturday events that will be ongoing throughout the town as well.
Correct.
And again, they always need volunteers. They also need houses for the tour. There was an advertisement in the newspaper, I believe a couple of weeks ago in the town talk, that they are looking for various homes to be placed on the tour. And this is always the time of year where they have to go out and solicit people to be on the tour. It is a wonderful event here in Media. It's a great way to showcase your house. And you can be decorated for Christmas, for any particular holiday that you wish. But again, if you have any information that you would like to provide to them or volunteer, please go to their website. Okay, that's all I have for that. Media archives, nothing really to report on. However, just as an informational tool, Media Historic Archives is located in Media Upper Providence Library in the second floor space. There's all kinds of historical artifacts and documents up there. If you're trying to research anything about your home or in media, you are welcome to go up there, but it is by appointment only. You cannot just go up there and kind of go through all the articles that are there. The contact person for Media Historic Archives is a Pat Ryan, and her information can also be found on Media Historical Society's website, as the archives do not have their own site as of yet. But that will be a work in progress for them. Lastly, the Board of Health, just as a reminder to everyone that because of all the warm winter weather we've had, the bugs are breeding like crazy already. So they would like to just alert people to make sure that any areas of standing water, pools, ponds, water features, clogged rain gutters, anything like that needs to be cleaned out and maintained, and make sure that you go out and you buy something called dunks, which are mosquito repellents that are environmentally safe for all the water features and whatnot. If you have an elderly neighbor that lives next to you or across the street or whatever that is not able to maintain their gutters or has areas that are wet in any way, shape, or form, please go out and be neighborly and help them out. It's a concern for everyone. And that's all I have for this evening.
All right. Does anybody have questions for Councilwoman Borough?
Yeah, I have a question. The event on the 5th, what time is it?
Oh, did I not give that? Sorry.
This is
It's I'm sorry, it's May 5th, Saturday, May 5th, 1 to 4 p.m.
I have a postcard from 1919. I bought on eBay. So.
I have an Edgar Allan Poe.
Spend your $10 and take your chances.
What do you have? You have a card from today?
We all have.
It's gonna cost you $10 though. So, it'll be
Money
worth it.
money worth spending.
It could be $1 million postcard, you never know.
And we'll know the result of that if Mr. Davidson's not here.
May I just add to the announcement about the appraisal day for the Media Historic Society? If this first one, as we hope, is going to be so successful, we are considering having an additional one this fall. But pending the outcome of it, we are concerned that, just listen to all of you. You all have something. And we feel that there's so many wonderful people in media who do have something that they want to learn the value of. We do not want to disappoint them. It really is the first 100 that come. So for those of you who are out there thinking about it and considering it, we will definitely be considering one again in the fall.
Okay.
So I'll recapitulate for those who weren't able to hear that at home, because Ms. McFarland violated the ironclad rule. She wanted everyone to understand that this event is restricted to the first 100 persons only, but that there is a thought, and it sounds as if quite a bit of thought is being given to this thought, that there will be a second such event perhaps in the fall.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions for Councilwoman Laura? Hearing none, we'll then turn to Councilman Robinson, Public Safety, Public Works, Infrastructure, Fire, and Third Street Project Committee.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to introduce to all the residents of the Borough immediate our new fire chief, John Gibson Sr. The last name Gibson just kind of seems to be part of media and without a doubt part of the firehouse. But on the April 12th meeting of the general meeting of the fire company, John was elected the newest chief of our Media Borough Fire Company and EMS unit, and I'd like to welcome him aboard. It's not like he's not a seasoned veteran, and welcome you to your position and encourage you to attend council meetings whenever you're able to. So, John, congratulations on your, I don't know if it's a good move or a move, but I'll just say move on that one. Regarding March's fire reports, the fire department had 25 fire calls with an average manpower of 6 firefighters. We had 192 EMS calls, ranging in media, Upper Providence, Nether Providence, and Springfield. And each month I get a little bit different of a report, so it's somewhat interesting. 87 were transported to Riddle, and 39 were transported to Crozier. As I've indicated, each and every month I'm going to make sure I remind all the residents of the Borough media that they can take some time and volunteer to be part of a fire department, serving in either as a firefighter itself or working in the administrative side. And I would also ask tonight that each of us in our own way remember that on April 9th, the city of Philadelphia lost 2 firefighters, Lieutenant Robert Geary and a firefighter, Daniel Sweeney. These ladies and gentlemen go out and risk their life day in and day out. These were paid professionals. We have professional volunteers that do it day in and day out. Day in and day out is one thing, but the evening is the times where I recognize their importance. So everyone in their own way, I'd ask you please remember these 2 lost firefighters. With that, I'll get into some of our legislative reports. Or for me, it seems like the big thing nowadays are mass gathering reports, so I would make a motion that we approve the mass gathering permit for the Media 5-mile race, which would be held on June 15th, 2012. Setup is going to be starting around 4. The race every year, it does close down the borough. Please, anybody that wants to get their pizzas, anybody that wants to come in, go out, do it before 4 or 5 o'clock. There's nothing worse than seeing someone at an intersection screaming and hollering that they want to get in or get out of town, when they're not going to get in or get out of town through the last runner who crosses the track or whatever it is. So that is in the form of a motion.
Second.
There's been a motion, it's been seconded. Is any questions on the motion?
Mr. President, I'm going to not vote on this one just because I'm race director and any kind of possible questions about that. So I will not be voting on this.
All right, there will be a written abstention from Vice President Simpson on this matter. I will turn to her though and ask her questions just before we call the motion. Are there still places available?
There are, where registration is just about at 1,200 and caps at 1,400. And I want to assure the council that we've already met, which we do annually, with police chief, fire chief, highway department, and code enforcement officer to make sure that we have any issues that may need to be tweaked from the previous year are managed, and we've already done that this year. And we will make sure that there's notification in advance to warn folks about the street closures.
All right, any further discussion on the motion?
Plus the change tape, Mr. President.
Very excited.
All right, we are now back. We apologize. We were just about ready to call the motion concerning the mass gathering permit for this year's Media 5-miler, which will be held Friday, June 15th. All those in favor of granting that application, please say aye. 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 Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We will see the runners soon.
Second on the agenda, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the mass gathering permit application presented by the Media Arts Council for Bastille Day, Saturday, July 14th, 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock. I believe the copy which I received was somewhat hard to read, but I believe it is Saturday, the 14th of July, 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and that is in the form of a motion.
Is there a second? Second. All right, the motion's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any call for discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of granting the mass gathering permit application for the Media Arts Council's second Saturday Bastille Day celebration, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. I believe that this will be the fifth Bastille Day celebration that the Media Arts Council has put on. It's Saturday, July 14th. Hope to see everybody there.
And it will be a busy weekend that weekend, because on July 15th, which is a Sunday, there is a mass gathering permit application by the Media Business Authority for the 5th Annual Media Downtown Car Show. There is a rain date, and it is not the same date. It is July 22nd. The event will start at 9 o'clock and be done at 4:30. State Street will not be closed, but portions of some of Front Street, Olive Street, and Orange Street will be closed. Or from Front Street. Once again, rather difficult. Somewhere about 200 cars, sponsors, booths, etc. That is in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion that's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any call for clarification on the motion? All right. I'll call the question. Those in favor of the mass gathering permit application from the Media Business Authority for the 5th Annual Media Downtown Car Show on Sunday, July 15th, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. All right, so it looks like that Saturday we'll have barricades and Sunday we'll have barracudas. Well put. Do you have matters for legislative action?
No, sir, Mr. President. The 3rd Street Advisory Committee, I think you handled that at the beginning of the evening. I mean, I will say that, I want to say personally, I think even though there are differences with regards to the findings and the report, I think everyone on council and everyone in the community recognize the work that the CAC put forth to this. This is an outstanding document. And I would personally like to thank the members in there, Linda Healy, Mike Jordan, Mike Kingsley, Reverend Adam Cradle, Robin Laserson, Brett Lester, and Terry Rumsey. They did a fantastic job in a tremendous amount or extremely short amount of time. And I think we all need to truly applaud them for their efforts. Council will continue to discuss the findings. As Council President referenced, a decision will be voted on, I assume, at our May meeting. Between that point, Council will be getting together to further review the study and discuss the opinions. At the same time, members of Council will be going over the findings with County Council, hopefully the Senator Pileggi's office, and will without a doubt be reaching out to Broomall's Lake and Country Club. I think all of us are aware, and those that are not aware should be, that there is a stipulation that council did enter into last year, and that is something that is going to have to be recognized. Hopefully all parties can sit down and discuss that stipulation and take a look at possibly tweaking portions of that stipulation. That concludes my report.
And that stipulation is available to anyone in public if they wish to take a look at it. Media Borough website.
As well as the report is available online.
Including the appendices?
There are no appendices? Yes.
Because the last I looked, which was about 2 days, maybe 3 days ago, it said that a disc was handed to council to be able to review it off of the website.
Are these the appendices to the report from the CAC that you're referring?
Yes.
It's on the website.
It is on the website,
Correct.
which were the comment cards that we did on that May 5th meeting.
The comment cards not included because they had a lot of personal
They
information.
had personal
on them.
information, names and addresses.
You review those at the office though.
Okay.
That's something that we cannot, upon advice of council, or should not, put on a public website.
But they are reviewable at the borough office, aren't they?
Yes.
They are.
Yes, you can come to your office.
The personal information's been redacted,
Has-
or can be redacted, I don't know if it has been.
Paul, if you would mind, would you mind addressing the nature of the vote this coming May? We're voting on the purpose and scope of the project. And I don't want people thinking that come this May, we're going to vote on the whole shebang. Could you please?
Well, I think, I'm not, to be candid, I'm not sure the direction in which we will be going with the vote at this point. So, I mean, there is the discussion. I am assuming, if you want to take a lead on this one, go ahead.
Sure. Just so folks understand, whatever the vote will be this coming legislative meeting, we're not voting on a particular design. We're not voting on something that is fully spec'd out. It's essentially we're going to be choosing among a variety of different options, but we're not going to specify what exactly the project is going to look like. So we're giving general guidance to PennDOT per their request as to the nature of the project. And then in the forthcoming months, there will be discussions with PennDOT engineers, et cetera, as to what the project will look like, how it will be engineered, and what dimensions it will be, things of that nature. So I don't want anyone to have the expectation that come May, we're going to have a fully finished project that's going to be voted on. All right, any other questions for Councilman Robinson?
Brian,
I have one.
Oh, sure.
Well, I just wanted to comment on the funding aspect that's come up a few times, and just so people understand in terms of how the funding works for this project, there's basically a program called the Transportation Improvement Program. I think that's the correct acronym. It's called the TIP. The TIP is basically set aside every 2 years, and we are trying this year, and this is why this deadline is coming up in May, to get on the 2013 TIP, which means that with that funding that is available for the project, the 80% the state has promised us will be available next year, beginning of next year. That's why this year we need to essentially make a decision in terms of the direction we're going with the project in order to get this funding for 2013. If we delay or something comes up where we cannot make a decision and not get that funding, then next available time to get that funding is 2015. So that's why it's essential, and I agree with certainly the sentiment that we heard tonight, that we need to get this project moving this year and make a decision, and so we get on the 2013 TIP to make the project move forward.
All righty.
Just have a clarifying question about the funding.
When we get to public comment and privilege, does anyone else on council have any questions or discussion related to Councilman Robinson's report?
I do have just one. I wondered if Chief Gibson would like to come up and address the public at home, or...
I'd asked him earlier that, and he
Okay.
declined.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
May I answer?
That was an emphatic. Well, this first, when we get to public comment privilege before. Any other discussion? All right. Let us now move then to public comment and privilege of the floor. Anyone present who wishes to come forward and address council, please do so.
Robin Lasserson, 342 West 4th Street. Just a clarifying question about the funding, about the TIP. Is the TIP just the planning money versus the 80% PennDOT grant and the 20%? I thought the TIP was...
Planning or construction?
That's construction money.
But the construction money has been put into for design purposes, but Kent is right, that to get on the TIP, and the TIP is the construction funds.
It's planning and construction, or it's all of it? I'm confused.
What occurred, we were originally on the TIP once before, and those funds were then allocated back to the design aspect and not the construction or engineering aspect. So.
Okay, thanks.
I saw Mrs. Rowland raise her hand.
The hotel.
The hotel, you wish an update on the hotel?
Yeah.
Let's see if there is an update in the hotel. Mr. Engineer.
The last thing that came through to the borough and through our office was a lot line adjustment plan. I believe it was for a sale or a switch of property. I don't believe there's been any other plans or any other documents that have been submitted to the borough recently.
Is that with the PNC Bank, Bob? That's the lot line goes from PNC Bank?
Yes, that's correct. PNC Bank, Providence, whatever name they're trading under, whatever time.
That's for purpose of entrance and exit, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And I spoke to their attorney on another matter earlier this week, just by coincidence, and asked him what's going on. He said they should be back in a month or so to try to get a development agreement in place and start moving forward. But that was a rough estimate.
Okay. All right, you have an answer. Mr. Rumsey.
Gary Rumsey, 342 West 4th Street. I have a question either for the solicitor or the council, which is, if the council does choose the option of dam replacement rather than dam removal, I'm just wondering if there is clarity about who will actually own that dam?
Well,
And I'm not talking about who will be responsible for cutting the grass or the plumbing.
Well, and I'm going to have to respond that I don't have an answer because that relationship between the three parties is one that has been subject to litigation. And any changes would require revisiting that, and it's not something that we can discuss at this point.
The stipulation doesn't address ownership. I'm just wondering what your opinion is on who will actually own
And I'm not.
the dam.
Yeah, but I don't think that our solicitor is, that is for our solicitor to address in public session. The document is available, and yeah, I'm sure you have read it. Anyone in the public can read it, and they can determine for themselves whether or not it addresses the issue of ownership.
So I guess I'll just have a comment to the council that, you know, given that the question of ownership is central to anyone taking true responsibility, because the reason the dam's in the condition it is now is because no one has taken responsibility, and no one has wanted to own this dam. The county, Rumel's Lake, or the borough. So I would just ask council to think about, is it really wise to spend $3.8 million on something that nobody really wants to own? Thank you.
that's interesting.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address council at this time?
I would like to address Mr. Gibson.
Of course, but please come to the microphone so the folks at home.
Cindy Miller, 981.
Go ahead.
Cindy Miller, 981 Oak Crest Lane, Meeting Gate, Upper Providence. Mr. Gibson, I don't know whether it was you, but somebody took the time and reported it at the March 15th.
Could you speak into the microphone, ma'am?
I'm sorry?
Could you speak into the microphone so the folks at home can hear you and we us too? Sorry.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Somebody,
Oh,
and I believe,
Ms. Miller,
What am I doing wrong?
Ms. Miller, the way that this normally work and should work is that you address me, and then
Okay, I'm sorry.
I will direct the question to the chief if I
it's not
believe it
really a
appropriate.
question, it's a statement, and I just want to thank him.
All right.
At the March 5th meeting, somebody in the Gibson family took the time to clock, time-wise and mileage-wise, to go from the media fire hall in an emergency vehicle, coming by way of, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but coming by way of Baltimore Pike, as well as by coming way of Orange Street. It was considerably, in a case of an extreme emergency, longer than to use the 3rd Street Road, which is not accessible. And I just want to thank whatever member of the Gibson family it was that took the time to do that, because to me that was very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address council?
No, go ahead. No. Go ahead, sis.
Mr. Pino.
616 North Monroe. And I'm coming back before you again to tell you about Monroe Street and the parking problem that we have there. The Boys Club members do not park in their parking lot. They park on Monroe Street. And obviously what happens is the people that live on Monroe Street cannot park there. And it's really coming into a problem. And also, this week, I found one of the board members parking on Monroe Street. He did move the vehicle after he was caught. I just wanted you to know about this problem, and if you could put some type of sign up or something with residential parking only or something of that nature, it would be appreciated. Because the neighbors that I've talked to, they have to walk a block away, a block and a half away from their house to park. It's not fair to them. It isn't. Monroe Street is really getting a lot of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pino. Mr. Miller, I believe that you wish to come forward again.
State my name and address again, or is it part of?
Yes, please.
David Miller, 981 Oak Crest Lane, Media, Upper Providence. I guess I'm somewhat confused, and maybe you could give me a little more of an idea of what you actually are going to vote on at the next meeting. Is it some of those four options that were on that sheet, and to what degree would, what conclusions would come from this vote to give us, who are concerned, what's the next step and what have you? It seems like a very long and drawn out process, and obviously I don't see all the ins and outs and why it's taking this long, but it seems that it's something that's just like the tail's wagging the horse, as it were. That's my question.
Sure. I'll take a crack at some of that. It has been a long process, and I think it's been a long process because it's been a very complicated problem. The issues that have been involved with 3rd Street Bridge and Dam have been subject to litigation. I have been subject to negotiations for a number of years, and I think that's precisely because the consequences are so important to so many different persons and so many different entities. I can't really address a timeline as to how we would go forward after May. I think in large part that is determined by what the decision is in May. The decision in May is, as I understand it now, it might change between now and the legislative meeting in May. We're giving direction, broad direction to PennDOT as to the nature of the project. Will there be a dam? Will there not be a dam? If there's not a dam, what will be there? That is the nature of the vote as I conceive it in May. We're not going to go into what a structure will look like in May. That's something that will have to be worked out once we give PennDOT our direction as to what project will be. So I know that that's not particularly satisfying, but understand that it's very, very complicated, and we're trying to take things piece by piece, step by step.
And just to add to that, just so you know, I'm sorry, right here.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Miller, right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to point out that because of the funding issues in 2013, the TIP comes up this year, we have sort of the luxury of being able to make this decision in a timely manner. And I think because of the history and the research that was required, that we're trying to make an informed decision, this next month.
Okay. So now I think I understand a little bit better this process. You folks will vote and make a decision to give your thoughts to PennDOT and then PennDOT will come back and say, this is what we propose based on the monies that are available and what have you, and that's what we're gonna do. Or am I putting words in your mouth?
You're not putting words in my mouth, but I'll disagree with some of what you said, not to be disagreeable, but in the interest of trying to get some clarification. We're giving direction to PennDOT, and then we will then work with PennDOT, the engineer, Schnabel, which is which has been involved in this project for years now, so that and we'll then work with them as to what the project is going to look like. I see that Mr. Robinson here is.
Well, I mean, in essence, we were required to provide PennDOT a minimal paragraph type of thing, simple, this is what we intend on doing, this is what we're looking to do. As Council President said, dam, no dam, road, no road type of situation. Once that gets in, then we can continue to be on, as Councilman Davidson referenced, on the 2013 tip. So, only thing we need to do is to be very bare bones. This is what we intend, and then moving forward after the Mays decision is when the rubber really meets the road as far as actual design, layout, and what will be going on. So, really, in order to stay on the tip, we just have to give a basic direction to PennDOT.
Okay. Well, that's a lot clearer, because it almost sounded to me anyway, that you were gonna vote on something that was, way out here in, left field.
Well, left field wouldn't necessarily be the right way to describe it, but this council does have the ability and the authority to vote on something that could, if we decide to, take it off the 2013 tip.
Right.
And then put it on the 2015 tip to provide, whatever decision council will be making in May.
Okay.
So it's not like the funding will disappear, the funding would be moved from a 2013 to a 2015 tip.
Okay. All right. That's it.
And I don't know why, but maybe Kent, that it's every other year that the tip comes out. It's odd years. So, the way things are.
An odd project, obviously. Okay, thank you for your time.
All righty. Anyone else wish to come forward? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All righty. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Good night.
I don't need